Hi, my name is Molly Nause-McCord, and I'm recording this video to add some visual context to something that I conceptually recently tried to explain in text. So the question that was posed to me was the idea that a maintenance hole lid could be lifted due to water pressure. So for the purposes of this visual, what you see here is you see a brown line, which represents the surface of your street or the surface of the ground, right? So, you know, out here in the world, you have like cars and houses and things that exist up here on the surface, okay? And then down here, underground, you have these rectangles which represent your maintenance hole structures. So on the top of these maintenance hole structures is what you see in the street, the shiny brass lids. Well, they're not actually brass, but you know, they're kind of that brassy color. And then underground you have a 48-inch wide, typically, maintenance hole structure. And then you have the city's collection systems pipes. So what you see represented here is this is the maintenance hole. Right, it goes down and it provides us access to that system. And then these are your pipes. So they connect the maintenance holes and they're gravity based. So the vast majority of our system is based on gravity flow. So water comes in from your home or your business or the street inlets that collect surface water, and the water goes down into the world and then gets down into our pipes, and then it runs down the pipes all the way down to the treatment plant. And then at key points in our system, it's collected and then pumped uphill, right? But in this case, we're solely talking about the gravity system. So under normal circumstances, or normal system flow, the water comes into the system, or the sewage, or the combined flow, I should say combined flow, comes into the system from the homes down into the pipes through your laterals, right? And then it gets collected in the collection systems and flows downstream. Gravity system, right? Gravity makes the water flow, and it also points down into the world, keeps us from flying away, centrifugal force, physics, what have you, right? So what happens to make the lids rattle or move or come off, which is a observed phenomenon, right? So out in the world, as the water and sewage and everything, we're going to go with just like water system flow, as it collects in the system, there can be a time in the system, which is less common, where the system becomes full. And this is because there's so much water coming into the system at any given time that the pipes, instead of conduiting that flow to its destination, actually start to fill. So that's when you start to get a hydraulic line, or a hydraulic grade, or a hydraulic head, or head pressure. And what that means is that because that water can't drain out to its destination, it starts to sit in those pipes and it starts to fill them up. This is also what we call system storage. This does occur throughout our system in a semi-reasonable, common manner. And then what happens is as that system catches up, air quotes, to that flow, it empties back out. But yes, at any given time, there are some points in our system that have a little bit of sewage sitting in them, especially when there is a lot of rain, right? Because if we have a combined collection system, you have those sewer hydraulic flows, but then you also have storm flows. So what can happen is when the system gets overwhelmed, so when those discharge points get full, or if something operationally went wrong, such as a station turning off, or there being a clog in the system, or a failed pump, or something of that nature, as more and more water comes in, this hydraulic grade line gets raised through our system. So you start to see this water rising and rising and rising. Well, here's the thing, right? Throughout the whole world, you also have these pipes. So as you zoom out from this visual, you start to picture the idea that if the system can't drain out of its key point, it's kind of like installing a dam. And then as more and more water fills these pipes, and as more and more water continues to come into the system from locations, once these pipes are completely full of water, there's nowhere else for it to go except to resist gravity and to start to fill above the pipe. So that's when your hydraulic grade line starts to raise above the level of the pipe. And that's when your maintenance holes will start to fill. And as those maintenance holes start to fill with water, if there's still water coming in up here, that upstream end, due to just regular use, or maybe mass discharge, again, there's a significantly large number of variables that would contribute to this situation. But the more and more rain that you get, and the more and more that people's homes that have rain drains, or businesses, right, that have impermeable surfaces, as that rain comes through your rain drains into the gutter and fills the street inlets, as it comes down your gutters and into your combined service laterals and fills more and more water into the system, these grade lines out in the world will continue to rise until either the water gets to a point where it finds another place to go, or until the rain stops, right? So in this case, the water, because you have still more of it coming in out here, right? Way upstream, lots and lots of blocks. As more and more of that comes in, you're going to get more and more filling these maintenance holes to the point where it will come out the top. Because it is basically one of those mass balance questions of like, okay, right, water has to have somewhere to go. The pressure out here in the world, the force of the water coming into the system, the force of the water coming into the pipe and hitting that wall of not being able to drain, backs it up, air quotes. And then eventually that force will build in that structure as it fills to the point where it's too large to stay in, and it will overcome gravity, and it will overcome the weight of that lid, right? Because it's pushing up against the weight of the lid. The water is creating that force that pushes it up and pushes the lid off, because the water is still coming in and it still can't drain. So hopefully that adds a little bit of visual context to what I was trying to describe. These hydraulic grade lines may seem really unfeasible or larger than what you can fathom within a simple drawing like this across a singular block face. But it is important to keep in mind that when you're in a situation like this, and you're in a place like Portland that may have like different types of topography, even if your street isn't particularly sloped, your hydraulic basin that you exist in may have a varying level of street slopes and a varying level of regular hydraulic grade lines throughout that complex system. So by the time you do get down to that nitty-gritty of the hydraulic grade line filling these structures slowly as it rains, you can get to that point where they become full. This is typically in a situation where you have a massive clog, a massive failure of pumps, or an overwhelming storm that is well above the hydraulic capacity of the system that experienced this phenomenon. Thanks.